Hello, everybody. Hello there, and welcome to Good Grief, the podcast where we get real about grief, loss, and all the messy, beautiful emotions that come with them. I'm Sylvia, your guide on this journey, and today we'll explore how grief is a profound, universal experience that touches every human life, but is deeply personal and unique to each individual. This presentation is about understanding that uniqueness with humility and kindness, recognizing that no one grieves the same way. Our goal is to foster empathy and provide thoughtful, compassionate support for anyone on their grief journey. Um, I've lost a lot of people in my life. I lost two of my children. I lost my mom. I lost two of my best friends. I can count best friends on one hand, and I lost two of them in their 30s. I've lost a lot of people, and I I wanted to do a podcast that teaches people how to grieve and not to lose themselves in their grief, understanding their grief. And so I am taking a course for grief coaching, not so much for um, 'cause I wanted to be a grief coach per se, but I wanted to help myself and in the process help other people. So let's get started. Okay, so um, everyone will face grief at some point, and how you experience it varies widely. This variation is shaped by many layers: personality, cultural background, previous experiences, the nature of the lost relationship, and the specific circumstances surrounding the loss. Understanding these factors with compassion helps us avoid assumptions and honor each person's authentic experience without judgment or expectation. Just always remember that when somebody you love loses somebody, know that their grief may be different than yours because of a lot of different factors. And I'll be talking about my experiences throughout this so I can further explain how this works. Gosh, I'm little here, huh? I am very tiny. That's like anyway, let's go. All right, so personality and grief. Personality greatly influences grief expression. Introverted people often process their emotions quietly and internally, perhaps withdrawing as they seek to make sense of their loss in solitude. That was certainly my ex-husband. When we lost our first son, he kind of retreated. He really did. Extroverts might find comfort through sharing their feelings and connecting socially. That would be me. Those with resilient traits can lean on inner strength and learn coping skill during grief, whereas individuals prone to anxiety may find grief more overwhelming, needing additional understanding and gentle support. Um, uh, I think those with the resilience personalities probably have been through a lot to begin with. So yeah. So recognizing and respecting these differences allow us to meet people where they are emotionally. So, cultural influences in grief. So, culture profoundly shapes how grief is expressed and experienced. For some, public expressions of grief through rituals and community support are essential parts of healing. In other cultures, private mourning and maintaining composures are considered respectful and appropriate. Um, I remember my Italian families, they were pretty, yeah, they didn't want me to share so much, but that's how I coped. So, there you go. The timing and length of mourning periods can also differ, reflecting deep cultural values. It is important to approach each person with cultural humility, listening openly and respecting their beliefs and practices, even when they differ from our own. Um, you know, when I met a couple who lost their daughter um, during a procedure at the hospital, and often thought it didn't seem to me like they were grieving at all. Um, um, but I now understand that they just grieve very different than me. Maybe they didn't do it openly, they just did it inwardly. So I think we all need to learn, even though we have our own experience, other people may truly feel a different way. It just there's so many things that influence the way we grieve, and so we need to be respectful of each other's um, uh, grief and experiences. So, how someone has grieved before informs their current journey. Unresolved grief from past losses can resurface sometimes, intensifying pain or making new grief feel heavier. Conversely, past experiences of resilient coping might equip someone with emotional tools that help manage new loss more effectively. Being aware of this history helps us approach each individual's grief with sensitivity, acknowledging not only their present experience but the echoes of past wounds or strengths that shape it. As a matter of fact, I mean, the way I dealt with losing my son Nikki was very different with the way that I came through after losing Alex. Alex was the baby that I lost at birth. Nikki lived for 25 years, and I always knew he was sick. I always knew he would pass. So the way I just experienced each grief was very different. It's also different the way I think about them. You know, with Nikki, I knew him. I knew him. I knew that kid. And so when I miss him, I miss him. I miss the person. While with Alex, he was stillborn. I miss, the future I should have had. I should have been holding a baby. I should have done this. I should have done that. So every grief is different. Every you know, even to both are my children, but I grieve them very differently. So grief stats often reflects the nature of the relationship lost. Losing a spouse, a child, or a close family member tends to bring intense sorrow as these bonds form core parts of one's identity and daily life. When relationships are conflicted or unresolved, grief may come mixed with feelings of guilt, regret, or anger, making the process especially complex and challenging. Awareness and acceptance of these layered emotions allow space for healing and self compassion. So, definitely, if it's somebody really close to you, it can be really intense. When I lost Alex, I think that was the most intense grief I ever felt because it was so traumatic and unexpected. So, circumstances of the loss, the way a loss occurs, has a significant impact on grief scores. Sudden deaths, accidents, suicide, or other unexpected events often brings trauma, shock, and disbelief, complicating the recovery. And I think that's why losing Alex to me was so traumatic. Um, I wasn't expecting him to die at birth, that's for sure. Um, in contrast, anticipated loss through illnesses may provide some emotional preparation, although no loss is ever easy. Some types of loss, such as miscarriage or pet death, may be stigmatized or misunderstood, leaving the griever feeling isolated. And I can definitely relate to that. I had a miscarriage after I lost Alex, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Um, I say in my book, Butterfly Child, that was the first time I ever considered suicide, even though I would never kill myself, because it was so hard. Um, and also pet death. I lost my beloved princess last year, and it was really harder than I thought it was going to be. So sensitivity to these circumstances help foster empathy and validates the griever's experience. Unique grieving journey. So grief does not follow a prescribed or predictable path. It is often nonlinear. Some people move through stages gradually and steadily, while others experience waves of emotion that ebb and flow unpredictably. Individual preferences also vary. Some seek connection and support, while others prefer solitude to process their feelings. The most compassionate approach is to honor each person's authentic process without imposing expectations or timelines. So, key takeaways for today's podcast. I'll try to keep them short, 10 minutes at the most. I know how precious time is for everybody. So, summary. Grief is an experience shared by all, yet each person's path is shaped by a tapestry of influences that make it uniquely their own. Recognizing the role of personality, cultural background, life history, the depth of the lost relationship, and the lost circumstances help us provide thoughtful, genuine support. Above all, meeting individuals with humility, kindness, and respect for their own grief journey brings their greatest healing and connection. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on Good Grief today. I will try to have a new episode every month. I'm a pretty busy gal, so once a month is all I can do right now. Maybe in the future I'll be able to do more often. If this episode spoke to you, please share with someone who might need a little extra support. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversations about healing, hope, and a little bit of heart. Until next time, take care of yourself. Thank you for watching.